Well, I'm finally fishing, and I say finally fishing because it's been a bit of a stranger to me this year, but finally I'm here for a day session on a reservoir in Northamptonshire, and there's some lovely scaly carp in here, fully scaled, linears, you know, real heavily plated fish, so I'm hoping I can winkle one out today. I arrived yesterday, baited up with sort of 20 spoms of tiger nuts and triple X. There's lots of bream in here, so I'm using whole baits. And then arrived this morning about 4 o'clock, flicked 2 rods out, and a couple of fish have showed since, so things are looking good. So I'm here today to show you some tactics on catching on short sessions, and hopefully I'm going to have a fish to show you as well. Well, we're a couple of hours into the session, and I thought I'd just take a wander up here just to have a look at some of these features. The lake itself is fairly featureless. It's about 10 foot to 12 foot all over. It's a bit of a bowl really, other than the marginal slope. So I've had a little wander up here, trickled a little bit of bait off the edge of these pontoons, a couple of bits and pieces around the buoys just to see if I can get the carp grubbing around a little bit. As I said, it's very featureless, so you can either build your own feature through bait, which is what I did last night. I came down and pre-baited, or you can have a look at some of these obstructions here that will definitely hold fish at the right time of year. Whether or not they are now, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep an eye on everything and play it by ear. Fingers crossed something happens soon. Well, I've just had a little flick about with a little deeper pro to see if I can see if there's any fish around, and I cast about, I don't know, 50-60 yards out in this little bay sort of area here, and it was pinging up with all sorts of fish. You can never tell exactly what they are. They could be bream, they could be carp, I'm not sure, but I had a cast over my area and it showed nothing, so this is about all I can go on at the moment. There's no fish showing, but there's fish showing up on the deeper pro, so I'm going to trust it, flick this out. I might get a bream, I might get a carp, I might get nothing, but I'm keeping things simple. I've got a little acid pair there balanced, and some triple X in a bag, just enough for a bite. So I'm going to flick it out now, and you never know. Well, I got a bit of itchy feet, so I took a little look up by the pontoons, and whilst Alex and I were standing there, a fish showed right next to them, so that's good enough for me. That's all I've seen for quite a while now. So I'm going to reel in, take a couple of rods up there, just lay them on the deck, flick them next to the pontoons, and hopefully we'll nab one. Well, since I last spoke, I managed to catch a bream on one rod that was next to that pontoon, and then I had another funny take, hooked into something. It was just grating on some chains or something, and unfortunately came off. So I'm hoping that's not the only chance I'm going to get. But in the meantime, I'm just going to talk to you a bit about the bait that I'm going to be using, or have been using. Basically, I've kept things very simple. There's a lot of bream in here, lots of roach, that sort of stuff. So I'm using boilies and tiger nuts to hopefully deter them. To that, I'm giving it a real boost of attraction. I'm adding some liquid GLM extract, which goes really well on the Odyssey Triple X. It gives it a real salty, fishy sort of smell, aroma and taste. Really good gear. And then I'm also putting some smoked salmon oil in as well. Basically all that does is it creates a real big sort of slick, a peeling slick in the water, and also acts as a real good bite indicator. By that I mean that once you've introduced it, if fish are feeding in the swim and it's windy, it creates a sort of slick in the area, so you know that the fish are grabbing about, sending oil plumes to the surface. So it's a real simple mix, one that I've done really well in the past, one that's working for the bream today, even though I'm trying to deter them, but the carp will certainly like it, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to catch something a bit later on. the rod was nearly ripped into the drink then, and I was just actually about to have a little afternoon siesta, and the rod bounced, the reel scraped along the concrete, and I'm in. And there's no way this is a bream unless it's a big one that's been on the Red Bull. This is certainly a carp. Right, enough of my talking. I'm going to just wander and get my net. I was actually just packing the rest of the gear away, thinking that it wasn't going to happen. And then bang. Well, the fish is safely in the net, and it's safe to say it's an absolute corker. Really, really scaly, and one of the ones that I was down here for. It looks like it could be a 20 possibly, so I'm going to get up on the bank and have a look, because it is a real cracker. Yeah, I'm chuffed with that. Well, I'm in a right palaver, because just as I'd netted this fish, the other one's ripped off. And I'm now doing battle with another one. I'm going to have to try and net it in the same net. And it's a big fish. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, like basses, as they say, come on. Two awesome carp in the same net. Well, here's the first part of 20 minutes of mayhem, and what a corker. Lovely little clusters of scales on it. This one fell to, this was an acid pear, this one, over the top of some crushed up triple X and tiger nuts. It was a real manic spell of action, and I'm delighted to say that there's an even bigger, scalier one in the net. Oh, well, how about that for a fat character? Look at the size of its scales. Absolutely incredible. I am well chuffed with that one. 25 pounds on the nose, scales like sovereigns of gold. I am delighted. An absolute cracking mirror. Time to slip her back. Well, talk about leaving it to the last minute. What an epic session that was. And it just goes to prove that we should never give up. We were about, I don't know, 20 minutes from packing away, and the rods on the floor rattled off almost simultaneously, and the result was two mega fine carp and an incredible fully. I am well chuffed. I haven't stopped smiling, and I'm going to enjoy the ride home.